9:31. Keith Short and Associates back into the studio. And it's been almost a month since I've talked to you last. How's life treating you, man?
Life is very, very good. I have my last child graduating from college in May. She's going to school somewhere very far away, so we're trying to plan a trip to go see her graduate.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So
congratulations.
But yeah, that my kids range from 38 almost down to 21. so and there's 8 of them, so this is the last in the journey.
Did you ever think you'd get to the last part, though, before we talk about our segment?
It keeps coming upon me because I got remarried, and I just adore my wife's 3 daughters, and Jen and I have been together 13 years. So I met Bella when she was 7.5 years old, or almost 8. And, to see her change and grow, she's a remarkable person. I just can't, they all are in their own ways, but Bella is 4'10", 4'10.5", and a very petite young woman, and went to school for the last 4 years in Italy.
Oh, wow.
And had the bravery to do this. And she literally called us one time, when she was 18 years old, and she was in, I think, Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. And this is the smallest, bravest person I've ever met, and she was scared, but she found her way. And now if we go to see her, we spend any time over there. This person leads us everywhere like we're children, because she knows everything about it. She was there when the American Pope became Pope.
Oh, now that would have been fun.
She was like, and she lives like literally right up the road from there.
It's incredible. Well, it's a great area too, and a lot of history. Congratulations on that, and hopefully having a good trip and all that, Keith. Yeah. Well, as we're getting back into it, I've really enjoyed our segments because, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a paralegal or have any legal knowledge, but it's great where you can break it down to where I can understand it. And I know that if I can, other folks can too. And, as we get back into it for 2026, where should we start?
Well, it's something interesting. It doesn't involve me at all, but I saw something today in one of the local papers, and it really struck a nerve with me because it involves another firm of really talented lawyers, and good people. People that I know, they're not my opponents, but my competitors. And I've known some of these folks for 20 years, and they're good people. They wouldn't cheat anyone. They don't need to either in the area they're practicing. But one of the firms, actually a couple of them, here in Alton, Internet, are being sued by this defendant, and it's just such BS. It's because, and here's why. So imagine the hypocrisy of a defendant who, along with other defendants, engaged in this remarkable effort to hide the risks of a disease process that workers could get. And, it's asbestos, obviously. And so the reason the plaintiff lawyers almost always win these lawsuits, almost always, and they win massive amounts of money for 2 reasons. One, it's easy to prove. I don't do asbestos, but I've been involved around tangentially, and I know enough about the circumstance. It's easy to prove that these defendants knew that this product was going to kill people, and they continued to use it, and they hid the information. So you want to talk about the hypocrisy of claiming that local law firms are somehow engaging in a conspiracy to prosecute these cases, when these guys, in fact, were doing that exact thing to hide it. That hypocrisy is just outstanding. But one of the allegations I just saw, and I read this thing, was like that they coordinate testimony through witnesses. And, I'm a sometimes vulgar person, and the first word out of my mouth was, not a good word, because, that's what everybody does.
See, okay, I understand where you're coming. We talked about this briefly, I think, a month ago, but you're right, because I saw the latest article, and to me, I felt like, and I know, not like I told you going into this, I'm not an expert. My expertise is my cousin Vinny, but
which is actually a pretty good movie. I said that before.
But what I do, it seemed like to me, the whole compiling testimony, that's just what normal process looks like, just from talking with you and everyone else that we've had on.
I'll give you my favorite example of this. I was in a trial recently. It was about a year and a half ago, and the defense lawyer put on their expert, and I put up his 9-page report. And I went through it line by line. And did you say this? Yeah. This is your disclosure, right? You didn't work with the lawyers to write this. No, this is my own thoughts. Yeah. He goes, well, I kind of coordinated with them, but these were my words, right? I said, this isn't your report at all. This is actually another witness's report.
Oh, wow.
And it's exactly word for word for 9 straight pages. I said, it's not word for word. It's word for word, comma for comma, semicolon for semicolon, period for period, exactly the same report.
Wow.
Now, if I thought that what they had done was unethical, I have an obligation to report them. I don't think that. I think the defense lawyers coordinated this. I think that what happens is they write up what they think is the truth. I really do believe that most of the time. The defense lawyers do, not always, but they write up. In this case, these 2 defense lawyers I think are really good people, and here's what happens is. They have a theme of their defense, and they talk to their experts about it, and they share, and they say, do you agree with this position? And if the expert says, yeah, I agree with this position, this is what I would say, and then they sign off on it.
Gotcha.
And so it's not unreasonable that 3 defense experts would have almost identical positions, because that's what they are saying is true. So but in this instance, this lawsuit that this defendant has filed against these 2 firms, to allege that plaintiff law firm or even a defense law firm coordinates the testimony of witnesses so that it presents a unified position of their case. That's every single lawsuit.
Yeah.
On both sides, good lawyers, bad lawyers, everybody does it. Otherwise, it's going to be all over the place. In fact, while you can't tell anyone what to say, I can tell you if what you're saying is going to be misconstrued or they're going to run with it. And we work with you to make sure that your opinion is your opinion and won't put you in a hole that you don't really believe is true. Yeah. Because a guy like me can get you there if you're not careful.
Well, exactly, because we don't know the real procedure, and so we might know what's true and know this whole thing. But once you get into trial, all of a sudden you get pushed into a corner because you didn't say something perfectly right. You never know what happens. So exactly. Why does these type of suits get brought on? Is kind of what I want to know.
It's great. It's great you said that, because literally I was a few minutes late to be here today because I was so irritated. I was pounding out a message on my face on the firm's Facebook page. It serves one purpose and one purpose only. It is to try to devalue the plaintiff law firm in the eyes of the potential jury body. So imagine I live in Madison County and I could be called to be a witness in this trial, and it's an asbestos trial, and I've read that this plaintiff law firm is this and that plaintiff law firm is doing that. Now I come into the case not trusting the lawyers, that's my opinion. If you were to ask me, which you have, why do I think somebody would do this? That to me is the reason, because I don't know everything that's happened out there, but right. the odds to me that they could win this lawsuit, it just seems.
And I'm not saying it's on your reasoning or your explanation, but could, in theory, the 2, I guess, defendants in this case go after the firm that's going after them for damages for potentially corrupting the process going forward? More
importantly, the question is, what you're essentially doing is alleging that they're committing a crime. Yeah. And there are certain forms of slander or defamation, you can slander or libel, one's spoken, one's written. But there are certain forms where you don't have to prove per se an actual damage. So if I were to say that you are a lousy carpenter, and because you're a lousy carpenter, you have lost business, and I know that it's not true, but I said it anyway, you could sue me for the value of your lost reputation and the business that you've proved it, but you have to prove a damage. Yeah. There are 4 areas of slander and defamation where you really don't have to prove that. It's called slander per se. And one's like, for instance, if I were to say someone had a venereal disease, or if I were to say someone was unfaithful, or they committed certain crimes, saying that alone. And if I were these guys, I would seriously consider filing a countersuit against them for defamation. Yeah, and then of course you have to prove that what they said was untrue, and I don't know how you do that in this situation, because they're alleging you're doing something that you're not doing. So how do you prove you're not doing something? Right. So anyway, it's a very complicated. And I saw this thing and I thought, it has nothing to do with the truth. And the truth is, if these guys are filing a lawsuit, it's because you have mesothelioma and you're gonna die, and you got it because you were exposed to asbestos. I don't even do this area law. Right. It has nothing to do with me personally,
Right.
but that's it. You have it, and you have it because you were exposed, and these companies knew it, and it was in their product, and they put it out there anyway, and they didn't care.
Well, and see, that's where I think it comes on to the journalists out there to follow that, I think, both sides approach and
Right.
really do the due diligence, because it's a good headline. You know,
It's a great one.
And I'm not saying they're at fault or the paper or whatever did it, the publication. I'm just saying you got to maybe do some back end work on that, because I think it is damaging. You know, if you see that, because just for me, I'm going, man, I don't know anything about law, but that looks pretty rough.
Yeah, in an area of the law, this is what I find really interesting, is these plaintiff lawyers who have been doing this, representing these people who have been dying by the thousands for years. They have been winning these cases for 40 years, and now they have to conspire. Yeah. Oh, come on. That's just nonsense. They have all the evidence they need already. This is such a defined fault or wrong that there are things that these plaintiff lawyers don't have to do, because even the defendants have acknowledged, you're right. You don't have to prove that this document is real anymore, because we all admit, this document that shows we knew these risks were out there. Yes, it's real. So it just kills me, the concept that just now they're conspiring and they're doing this after 40 years.
I think it just takes the humanity out of it from my perspective, because these people suffer a very bad illness, and I mean, mesothelioma is awful, and it I think devalue that by some of these lawsuits and some of these headlines, I think it does devalue their suffering and what they went through. Yeah,
here's the reality. If you walk through the door of my office and you have a diagnosis of mesothelioma, as a plaintiff lawyer, a couple things have happened. One is the odds all I have to do is prove where you were exposed, what product, and a massive amount of money walked in with you. And so they really want to do these cases, and I don't blame them, because it's not that, and people think, oh, it's just greed. Yeah, I'd love to have a case like that walk in the door, because you know why? I have someone who I can legitimately say has a serious deadly illness that I'm going to be able to take care of. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to take care of their families. I'm going to make sure that justice is served. Yeah. And the reality is, right now, when products are being made, one of the things that all the manufacturers do is they test the living daylights of these products, because they're afraid of people like these asbestos lawyers, things that I don't do. Yeah. Or these big class action lawyers. They're the ones that keep everyone in line. Yeah. Because we know, evidentially, we know this. We know historically the fen-phen litigation, where they knew that I don't know tons about fen-phen, but I do know this. It was a diet drug, and it caused massive issues with heart problems. It caused people to start their hearts would speed up, and they would die. And fen-phen was eventually pulled off the market, but it was the litigation that cost these companies millions of dollars, if not more than millions, that has caused them to go back and think, before we put this product out there, what will it do to people? Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, you don't hate us. I don't care if you hate us. We're circling around. And when we circle around and we finally get somebody, everything changes. Seatbelts exist because of folks like us, and Volvo, which the drug protections exist. Everything that's out there exists. Let me tell you a great case I have right now. I think it's fantastic. Now imagine this. Imagine, and I can tell you this because it's happened pretty far away, so people who are listening won't be on a jury pool. Imagine a person signs up for a fun run. You know those mud runs? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they set up obstacle courses. And you sign one of those releases at the beginning saying, well, I understand that I could fall off of this thing, or it's muddy, or somebody could jostle me. We all accept that, right? Yeah. Okay. This person's climbing over the obstacle, and it just collapses. Oh. And the defendants say, well, we're not responsible because you signed this form saying I accept the responsibility. It's like, oh, come on. Oh, it's like saying, well, I signed a form at the ski resort saying I understand I could ski into a tree, or moguls could call me and fall. But when I'm on the ski lift, it collapses. But because I signed that form, I waive my right to recovery. Right. That's the kind of thing where you look and you say, oh, no wonder plaintiff lawyers exist. We have to exist because they actually think they're going to get away with this. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it's a safeguard, Keith, for all of us, and it's really important to touch on that. It's 9:45. We'll come back with Keith and talk a little bit more on this Tuesday morning. You stay there. I'll be back here in the studio. Roku TV, RiverBender.com.
At Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu, we help students of all ages build confidence, discipline, and real-world strength. Join a supportive community that challenges you to grow both on and off the mat. Experience the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a 7-day free trial at our new location. Call 618-795-2692 or visit AltonElite.com to start your journey today. Train hard, serve others, live elite at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. When you need a project done right, on budget and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Poles and power lines, making the energy grid stronger today so it can meet your needs tomorrow. Learn about projects in your area at Ameren.com/energyfuture.
Welcome back, Daily Show, 9:49, a little bit of change. Back with Keith. You know, I really enjoyed that conversation. It's good just to talk about some of that and just break it down for maybe the folks that need a little bit more insights, Keith. But going into this, you know, having you on the show, it's been great to get more of just your insights and your knowledge on certain topics. But one you brought up during the break makes so much sense, and that's what we do. We bring that first time to a lawyer's office, you know?
Sure. Yeah. And, you know, here's the first thing is it's okay to educate yourself a little bit on the internet, but not a lot, because you'd be shocked how often this stuff is wrong. But let's imagine, CJ, it doesn't matter if I'm going to see a divorce attorney or a real estate attorney or car accident attorney, or I'm going to see even just to get a will.
Yeah.
You know, before you go to a lawyer's office, there are certain things that almost in every area applies. And these are the things that, if I could tell anybody, these are the basic things that you should do to make the process a lot simpler. Go ahead and educate yourself a little is fine, but don't believe everything you read. Because, like, for instance, the other day I read an AI response about the Missouri statute of limitations and a medical malpractice lawsuit being 2 years or what have you. And it says there's a discovery rule. Well, that's kind of true and not true. But also the statute of limitations could be 1 year in certain circumstances. Let's say if the federal government's involved.
Oh, okay.
So you read this answer and you assume you've got 2 years. Well, that wasn't a complete answer. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this is what you should do. So let's say that you're going to get divorced. Mm-hmm. When you go to see a divorce lawyer, they're going to need to know things like names and addresses and birth dates, and they're going to want to know where you work and where your spouse works and what joint properties you have and all that kind of thing. You should write it down ahead of time. Do a little tiny bit of research. You can figure out this is what I'm going to need. Let's say that it's a will. Well, they're going to want to know who your heirs are going to be, or who the people you want to leave the stuff to, and where's it's called marshaling all your assets. They're going to want to know that and all your debts. So the first thing you do before you go to a lawyer's office is sit down and compile a list of the things that matter. Mm-hmm. If it's a personal injury lawsuit, like a car accident, of course they're going to want to know who owned the car, and when did the accident happen, and where did it happen, and the weather conditions. You write all this stuff down, mm-hmm. and you write it down and never share it with a single living soul. just your lawyer, because if you share it, the moment I share it with you, the defendants can find it. If they
That makes sense. Yep.
It's discoverable. So you write down, and then second thing you do is you write down right then all the questions that you think you might have, so that you don't drive home and go, oh, should I ask this? Because you already wrote it down and you got an answer. I tell a lot of clients, now, if you want to have a follow-up conversation about your lawsuit, let's do it via Zoom. Hit the little record button. And you don't have to worry about making notes because you just record the whole thing.
Yeah, and
just
it does a transcript too.
Yeah, you just can't share it.
Right.
And the other question, there's some questions about whether or not that you should even have a Zoom conference call with a client, because then Zoom itself is a third party who, and supposedly we were told that there's agreements that they will protect that information, kind of like court reporters do. So I always tell my clients, look, I think this is secure and I think it's safe and I don't think it's discoverable at all, but we're not going to discuss anything that really, really fundamentally could change the outcome of our case. You can just ask me general questions.
Yeah.
But so go educate yourself. Write down the stuff that you want to know. Write down the things that you think they're going to need to know. And then the last thing is this: with every single case, is control your expectations.
That's a really good point on that. Well, and the other thing I wanted to ask you too, when it comes to doing a little bit of research, is it one of those things? Because to me, in my thoughts, is my lawyer. If I come to see you, you're eventually going to think about the thing that I'm going to ask you about. If it's a legal question pertaining to can I get this out of this case, or should we look at this statute? So is it really just when we're educating ourselves? Is it looking at the exact statute, or is it just making sure this is worth pursuing, if that makes sense?
Sure. Looking at a statute is fine. They're often very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
And what the problem is, those statutes are always later construed by courts, interpreted by the courts, and so that statute grows and changes and grows and changes. So you might understand the basics, but you don't know all of the history that rides along with that statute. So here's the one thing I will tell you that I just find fascinating is there have been clients of mine who are pretty darn smart and have 99% of the time when they come to me with something that's useless, but I've had clients come to me with a thought. And I think, oh, that's pretty clever, and I'm glad you said it. Or they have done some research of their own, and that kind of triggers us to go someplace. So I never mind when my clients propose ideas or thoughts. It's when that happens so often that it's starting to interfere with my ability to handle your case, or you're going to second guess me, because years and years ago, a client refused to take the money that I had on the table, and it was millions of dollars, and we lost.
Oh,
and
no.
I told her to take it. I made her talk to the judge. He said I would listen to Mr. Short. He knows what he's doing, and we lost.
Oh, no.
So it's a cooperative effort. It's like anything else. It's good to educate yourself about your disease if you go to the doctor, but don't assume that just because you saw something on the internet or you watched a TV ad that your doctor doesn't know all about it.
Well, it makes sense, and just like you said, having that proper, because I really couldn't tell you, do I need to bring my driver's license? What do I need to bring in to see you? And it's good to know that stuff and really save us time for a follow-up or a follow-up for the first initial.
Absolutely.
So, as we wrap up today, just what are your thoughts heading in for you guys in 2026 for Keith Short and Associates? It seems busy.
Oh, it is busy, and it's we actually just hired a young lady named Abigail who is helping us with internet marketing, sort of an assistant to the whole firm. We have another lawyer I think is going to be joining us soon. I have 3 cases set for trial this year. Wow. We actually have 9, but I have 3 that are multi big cases, big million-dollar cases. And one of them, we have 3 or 4. We have 3 filed, and maybe a 4th against the same person. And he has blinded 2 people, and he's 74 years old, and it's time for him to stop practicing. Wow. And so it's so bad that some of his fellow practitioners have been willing to be witnesses in my case because they know he's harming people. And in any event, I'm looking forward to that case. I'm looking forward to I've got a case where an older lady, was getting ready to have shoulder surgery, and they gave her an injection, and she had an allergic reaction to the anesthesia, which migrated to her heart, and they didn't know it because they didn't have her hooked up to a machine, and she died right in front of them, and they didn't even know she was dead on the table. Yeah. But the reason those 3 cases matter so much and I really, I'm confident we're going to prevail in all three of them. I'm as confident as I can be, is because with each and every one of those wins, it makes every case down the road easier for us to get satisfaction for our clients. Because the other side sees it happen over and over. We monitor each other.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, he's got another one. Oh, he's got another one. and it's a team thing. But that's what happens. When you're a case 2 years from now and you're watching and you see my firm take down another person and another person and another case, you think,
Yeah.
our date's coming and he's going to be in the room with us. When I say he, it's me and it's Andrew and it's Eric and it's Tony. It's Kamel. It's a whole team.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so with every win, it makes next year simpler for us.
You know, one thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go, because I have 1 minute or 2 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do as you're waiting for the verdict?
Sweat like crazy.
So do you
it is the most horrible time. I have jumped out of airplanes before. I've been through some weird stuff in my life. I tell every client, I don't care what you've been through in your life. When you hear the bailiff come and say the jury's back, your heart will almost stop for a second. I have done this dozens and dozens of times, and I still do that. Your hand sweats, and it's horrible.
What's the longest you've waited for a deliberation?
3 days.
Oh, so you just sit at the courthouse and wait?
No.
Or do they text you? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. What they do is they usually take your phone number, and after a while, but the judge usually says, be within 15 minutes of here.
Yeah.
Do not go home.
Don't stray.
But typically, no. It's a couple hours. And what's really interesting is the shorter the time, the more probable is the plaintiff lawyer is going to lose. If they come back in 20 minutes, you're dead. And the reason is the simplest word, the first word we learn as a child, other than mama and papa, is no.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the simplest one to say, because if they say no, I don't think the plaintiff should win, they don't have to think anything else. They don't have to make any other decisions. They don't have to decide how much money or who's responsible for how much or anything else. It's just no. And it becomes an avalanche.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, always really interesting talking to you, Keith. Keep up the great work over there at the firm, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds great.
9:59, little bit of change. Daily Show comes back to you with top of the hour news next.